Ladies and gentlemen, Kuro Games is back at it again, and we are pretty much right at the release of Wuthering Waves 3.0. We are approaching December 25th, the 24th, depending on where you are on the globe. And, well, the final bit of news is approaching the community. We've got the full kit reveal for Lynae alongside her Resonator combat showcase. So why don't we go ahead, take a look at what the devs have prepared for us, obviously go through and see what that demo looks like, and then of course break down just how powerful or potentially not powerful this new 5-star limited unit is. So without further ado, let's go ahead, let's check out this combat demo. I know we've already seen a lot of Lynae's combat given the PlayStation reveals, the actual live stream itself, all of the other teasers that have been shown, but of course we can always see the real final touched up version too. Okay, she looks like she's in one of those like alien wastelands, and it looks like she's fighting TVs. Oh, she blew him up.
Name's Lynae.
I like that at the start they showed her actually using her invisibility. That's something that I feel like we just haven't really kept top of mind when it comes to her kit or it comes to her aesthetic. So I'm glad it's one of the first things that they actually show in the trailer, just so that you actually know that she has it.
Hey, name's Lynae.
Yeah, overall, I would say that's a pretty decent transition. Not the most exciting enemies for her to be going up against, so I don't think she's really meant to be one of like the biggest aura farmers on the roster. Do you guys get what I'm talking about when I mean that? Like, she's literally fighting like a bunch of one-cost TDs. That's not... This ain't like the big fry stuff, right? This ain't no Kelpie. She ain't no Galbraina. She's no TD Slayer.
Hey.
And I guess when you consider the fact that everyone else was fighting stuff like Arsenosa, the False Sovereign, you know what I mean? Chuyan's like fighting assassins, all of that. It is a bit of a step down for her to be fighting a bunch of one costs, right?
Name's Lynae.
It is what it is. Oh yeah, she's fucking him up. I mean, come on, man. She's just beating up a bunch of one costs.
Over here. That's all you got?
Maybe the point is, though, to really show off, like, her animations, because she does have, without a doubt, the most colorful ones in the game. And they didn't want enemies that were, like, too big. Okay, I can see it. Yeah, she's got some very unique, like, special effects during her attacks that if the enemies were, like, bigger or if they were, like, larger targets, it wouldn't be as clear what was going on.
Catch this.
Okay, showing off the roller skating. This probably has to be like her key sequence. Yeah. Yeah, that looks like her full combo. Yeah, that you can pretty much tell that's like that's the start of her rotation, and it ends with her standing on top of a rainbow. Yeah, this looks a lot better than it did during the past gameplay reveals. I am 100% sure now that compared to the first iterations that we saw in that PlayStation test, they upped the particles. And they upped the particles and they upped the VFX. This looks nothing like the old one that they had before. Oh, she got the selfies too? Nice. Is this placebo? No. No, I don't think her visuals looked like that during the initial trailer. I don't think that they were this bright. I don't think that they were this vivid. I don't remember seeing anything like this in the first test. Okay, this is the big moment. This is kind of sick.
Don't blink. You'll
Okay.
miss the best part.
Doing a little bit of like Sonic Adventure Racing Crossworlds. That was pretty cool. I will say though, just as like a overall trailer, just as like an overall trailer, if this is everything that I'm seeing, it's not as good as some of the other ones that we've had in the past. right? I think when you compare this to Chu Yan, I think when you compare this to Augusta, when you compare this to Yuno, when you compare this to, well, I think Cheese is actually on a similar level to this one. It's a little bit whelming compared to some of the past trailers that I've seen before, combat showcase that I've seen before for some of the other units. For a part of me is expecting Mornier's to be a bit more exciting. Let me just say that I think Mornier's might be the one that reminds us a bit more about some of the past trailers that we've seen. But for a character like this, where they're like a student, I don't think they're meant to be that powerful in the lore. The trailer is, you know, like very grounded. They're fighting enemies that a student would fight. I think it's lore accurate, right? I don't think Lynae's over here meant to be like the craziest character ever, but I'm pretty sure her strength in game will not be reflective of what you're seeing over here.
Blink, you'll miss the best part.
Yeah, the voice line sounds better in game too. The voice line sounds better in game. All right. All right. Yeah, this is I'm pretty sure this is going to be part of her showcase. So, yeah. You'll know what her actual Resonator showcase is probably going to entail. Day in the life of a schoolgirl. All right, so that's gonna be her showcase. Once again, like I've said before, I don't think it's I don't think it's bad. I just definitely think it doesn't live up to the same level of excitement that I've seen in some of the other trailers before. Not even like 6 months ago for this game. And I don't think anyone can really disagree with me when I say that the other ones did seem to be like a bit higher scope, higher stakes, and overall, I don't know, I felt better after watching some of the older ones. But it is what it is. Kuro's obviously taking a different approach with the setting. I'll let them cook and see what they do for Mornier. This is only 1 minute and 30 seconds after all. So with that out of the way and the trailer completed, now let's actually go and take a look at her kit. And there's a couple of dynamics that we saw in that combat trailer that we're definitely going to be seeing a lot more of over here. Because yeah, I'm excited to see how that rainbow is actually created. We've got Lynae. Don't blink, you'll miss the best part. Sorry, I was just doing my best to imitate her voice lines. She's gonna be a spectral pistol user, and when it comes to all of her different ascension materials, just keep this in mind. You will not be able to farm anything in this game. You will not be able to pre-farm for her at all unless you're farming for Dreamless's feathers. And the good news is that this is actually Sunday, so there's probably a good chance that you're going to be able to farm these right now if you haven't done so already. So when it comes to her combat rolls, guys, this might be one of the most loaded sheets I've ever seen. She has Concerto efficiency, so she has fast Concerto generation. She deals basic attack damage. She also amplifies overall damage, and then amplifies Resonance Liberation damage, and then also can respond to Tune Rupture and Tune Strain, and then also provides a Tune Break boost to the team. So as you can see over here, she basically almost does everything. And I would say that the only thing that's not clearly labeled over here is another role that you didn't necessarily see on those cards, but one that she'll likely play in game is also that of a main DPS. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, because Lynae's also going to have another Sonata set. One where she supports as a sub DPS. It aligns with the character sheet that we saw before, but also one where she focuses on, well, gaining more Spectro damage and then gaining basic attack damage, which is, well, when you look at it over here, those are her main damage types. So you can pretty much see this character has every single role in the game aside from healing. She's a sub DPS, she's a main DPS. And there's really, yeah, the support is the only other slot that she doesn't actually do. So that's just something to keep in mind if you're thinking about her value as a character. Now, let's start off with her simplified kit overview. And this is where, unfortunately, we're gonna have to take this in a couple of parts because the kits in this game can be kind of complicated. And so we start off with a very simplified version at the beginning, and then we'll get into a bit more of a wordy version after we get that introductory view. So first things first, we're gonna have her normal attack, and this is just a gameplay demonstration of it over here. She's gonna have 2 states. While in the default state that she's in with full overflow, which is what I'm imagining is her Forte Circuit, hold the normal attack to enter a charging state, and then release a dash to the target. That's only one part of her attack. She's also going to have a roller skating mode and a special heavy attack for that, where she's going to hold the normal attack on the ground to continuously cast a ground heavy attack and then deliver a finishing blow. So you guys know that moment where she kind of like circles around the enemy, does that? You can kind of see what's going on, right? She's got some pretty unique animations built into that kit, and those are all parts of her normal attack. Now she's going to have her resonance skill, Lynae style palettes. Remember what I said about her having simplified explanations of what her abilities do? Yeah, her resonance skill right now, it just deals spectro damage for both pieces. There will be some additional effects added onto here, but once again, Kuro games can sometimes take a very interesting approach to digesting this information. I don't particularly think this is helpful at all, but maybe you will find it. Now, we got her resonance liberation, Prismatic Overblast. And this one is going to give all nearby resonators in the team an all damage bonus when it's used. So that's where some of her team buffs are going to be applied, and she's going to get them too. And then she's also going to have the ability, within a certain time limit after using the attack, to cast a chain attack using her motorcycle. So you're going to see over here, she's going to have a bit of a follow attack afterwards. She throws her bike at them and then jumps back on it and then throws it back at them. I mean, most people would say that's pretty sick. Yeah, she like catches it and then throws it back at them. So that's going to be something that she has built in across her liberation. Now let's read her Forte Circuit. Chromaticity. That's a hard word to pronounce. Modeling. Roller skating mode. After the charging state, Lynae enters the roller skating mode and unlocks new moves. So the idea here is that you're going to charge up a resource to be able to use your roller skates, and then once you're active with the roller skates, you can start doing a bunch of really cool stuff. We've already seen an example with the heavy attack over there. But this is where you're going to see more of the information actually regarding things like her basic attack, all of the actual combos that she can do. Her kit is kind of broken up in a very odd way. So the idea is you charge up a resource to enter roller skating mode, right? You unlock the new moves. These are the new moves. So the first one's going to be Polychrome Leap. So while she's in that roller skating mode, you can jump and consume 1/3 of her Lumiflow meter. And that's going to do a leap attack, dealing spectro damage. And it's also going to inflict this debuff called Photochromic Flux on the enemies. You can use this leap 3 times. 1/3, 3 times, makes sense. Rule of threes, right? During roller skating mode, while in midair with a max true color, which is another resource that she's gonna have, if the enhanced roller skating plunge attack is not on cooldown, you'll use the enhanced roller skating plunge attack. I feel like there are better names that they could give to these abilities. That's my take. They probably could use better names to describe these abilities, because they do seem a little bit too literal, a little bit too wordy. So this enhanced attack is also going to inflict that Photochromic Flux debuff on the enemies, the same one that she does with her 3 leap attacks. And then finally, using this enhanced attack, you can probably tell there's a lot of focus around actually activating this when you have max true color. Using this enhanced plunge attack is going to increase the tune break boost of all nearby resonators in the team. And here's another element of Lynae's kit. Her Sonata set, which is based off of her sub DPS and supporting ability to buff other teammates, gives the incoming resonator, the recipient of her outro skill, an additional attack buff based off of their tune break boost. So you can see over here, her set directly aligns with her kit, that bonus over there. She gets the spectral damage, blah, blah, blah. And then her plunge attack in the middle of her kit, in the middle of her rotation that you're supposed to use, is going to give that tune break boost required to actually maximize the possible effect of this buff. So you're probably seeing more and more how all of these different elements are fitting together into her kit, and why she seems to be one of the most valuable characters we've seen thus far. So that's going to be the enhanced plunge attack. That's essentially going to be the main key elements of her rotation to actually go through. Now let's read what resonance mode does. Photochromic Flux inflicts tune rupture or tune strain based on the current resonance mode. So this is where we're unfortunately gonna have to bring in a article from Wuthering Waves. Let me go ahead and see if I can just directly find it. Ooh, give me 1 second. I'm gonna have to bring in an article because we're gonna need some supplementary material to actually explain what Tune Rupture and Tune Strain actually are. So Wuthering Waves actually put out a post detailing the mechanics of these debuffs. And this is going to be really important because Lynae is essentially the biggest enabler of these shifting effects. Lynae basically has the ability in her skill menu to decide what type of shifting she's going to inflict in combat. This has to be decided before combat by choosing a resonance mode on her skill page. When you're in Tune Rupture and you inflict this debuff, or sorry, the status, I don't know if it counts as a negative status effect, right? You inflict it with Photochromic Flux, which you have 3 opportunities to inflict it here, and then 1 on the plunge attack. And so, if you decide to use Tune Rupture, you unleash 1 special attack when the target is broken, or really when you do the Tune Break on them. When you're using Tune Strained, everybody gets a damage bonus on the team based off of how many other resonators you have who can respond to Tune Strained. So Tune Strained seems to be more of a DPS oriented one, while Tune Rupture seems to be the more sub DPS oriented one. And when you know that the symbol for Tune Strained is actually the same as Lynae's DPS set, this is the symbol for Tune Strained. When Lynae's DPS set has the same marking as this, I'm going to assume that Tune Strained is for DPS and Tune Rupture is for sub DPS. So that's going to be the sort of differentiations that you make in the skill menu. As a sub DPS, right, Lynae will attack off field, throw this grenade like this, right, and then support the rover over here who's meant to be the DPS character. And in this circumstance, right, well, Lynae's inflicting Tune Strained, and everybody like Mornay is just dealing more damage on the team, and that's why she's on field. So yeah, that's just an explanation over here about how she interacts with the Tune system, how she applies those buffs, and how you can actually access these mechanics in combat. It's not really too crazy at all. There's pretty much no way to not apply these unless you're intentionally not using, which probably the most damaging parts of Lynae's rotation, right? You can probably tell with all the detail that's put into here, this is what you'll want to do every single time she's on field. And if you're not using these abilities, you're probably messing up somewhere. I think that's a fact. Now, let's go ahead and read a little bit about those resources that she had, right? The Overflow, the Lumiflow, True Color, all of that. So, while in default state, her attacks, her basic attacks, just recover Overflow. And while in roller skating mode, moving or attacking restores Lumiflow. So the idea is, okay, you're gonna charge, get your roller skates, and then when you're in your roller skates, you're gonna start moving or attacking, and then when your Lumiflow is full, you're gonna start jumping. And then when you jump enough, you get enough True Color, right? Then you do the plunge attack. So yeah, you need 3 True Color, which you get from doing your 3 jumps, which you get from jumping 3 times after having 100 maxed out Lumiflow. And that's basically it. You can see over here, this has to be probably one of the easiest kits in the game to understand. And I think you guys are probably understanding, there's not too much to keep track of. Just get your meter maxed out, then just start jumping like a freak, and then do your plunge attack. And then outro skill out to somebody else. That's what it's looking like over here. And I think for a 2.0 debut unit, knowing that a bunch of new players are going to be coming back to the game, or new players are coming to the game, and returning players who might be a little bit rusty are coming back to the game, this seems like a pretty simplistic kit. Can be used in a bunch of different ways. Seems like a good kit. Sorry, for 3.0, for that type of audience to get themselves situated with. So yeah, I like the lack of complexity over here, even though she is going to have some unique mechanics and stuff, right? Like with her bike throw and her twirly whirlies that she does with her heavy attack. That's going to be her forte. Now let's take a look at some of her Concerto abilities. Her intro skill is going to be her throwing her bike. Recover Overflow and inflict Photochromic Flux on targets. So yes, ladies and gentlemen, you're not only going to just be able to inflict her Tune Rupture, Tune Strain with just these attacks, her intro skill is immediately going to apply it too. So there's, yeah, you're going to have pretty much full uptime and be able to use those Tune Break abilities pretty easily as long as Lynae ends up being on field. And when she's typically going to be the second or sometimes the third character in your rotation, the debuff should be up before you actually need to use your Tune Break ability. Now we got our outro skill, and this is where it's going to get a little bit spicy a bit. Let's hit the road. Attack the target and deal spectro damage. The next incoming Resonator has their all damage and Resonance Liberation damage amplified. Switching Resonators ends the effect early, and casting outro skill exits her roller skating mode. So yes, ladies and gentlemen, it sounds like she just has, first, a new type of outro buff, and this new outro buff is going to be centered around liberation. I imagine the number is like 40, 45, maybe even 50% total, but you can probably tell the characters on the roster that might be able to utilize her. Oddly enough, if you want a DPS Chisa who deals Resonance Liberation damage, Lynae should be very good for them. DPS Lynae is going to be very good for them. Extremely good, probably their best in slot. And of course, for your Zhang Liao, I'm gonna be honest, guys. Zhang Liao's probably gonna be a pretty viable character now that he doesn't have to play with Yinlin. We've all basically been saying Zhang Liao kind of gets held back by the fact that his sub DPS is one of the worst characters in the game. Yinlin, the one that's specifically tailored towards him and gives him, 45% ultra buffs worth of damage by doing Electro and Liberation. Yeah, this character is so bad, it just makes him dog shit by proxy. However, I don't think this is going to be the case anymore. He's probably actually going to be one of the higher value DPSs in the game. Because if you got him for free, which you did if you played during 1.2 and you get Lynae, I'm pretty sure he's going to fuck everything in the game. I'm going to be honest. I think a Lynae, Zhang Liao Shorekeeper team is probably just actually going to fuck everything in the game. That's my take. We'll see though. We will see. But yeah, there's a lot of, even Calcharo too. I forgot. I'm sorry. If Zhang Liao's in the conversation, Calcharo also is as well. And Calcharo also has the insane benefit of actually having a, really good standard weapon, too. Let me essentially tell you what's going on over here. So, Calcharo's got a new standard weapon, essentially, right? And that's this bad boy, the new, Radiance Cleaver. And, well, dealing damage to targets under Toon Strain Interfered grants 24% liberation damage bonus for 3 seconds. You could pull Lynae and then put her on that mode and then Static Mist, and then Calcharo runs this, gets all these buffs, all these insane stats, and the liberation damage bonus, and then even more amplification down here. He should also be quite strong. I don't see how he's not at least, somewhat decent using that combo where Lynae's on the Toon Strained mode. Just saying, just some fun ideas. And I'd love that this character's release, combined with all of the new tools that we're going to have available in the game, has you thinking about, dusting off some of those older units and potentially, just having some more fun with stuff that we, is like the Toy Story meme, right? Woody, I'm done playing. I'm not playing with you anymore, little bro. But now it seems like, holy shit, this unit has kind of revitalized some of those older members of the roster already. That's just my take, though. You might be feeling different. Now, let's go ahead and read that combat guide. I think I've already made it pretty clear how simple she is to play. That's why this one is really short, right? You just go in, you charge up her stuff, then you jump, then you do her plunge attack, and then go from there. It's really that simple. So, let's start reading the detailed kit overview now. Skills. Normal attack, Chroma Drift. Press or hold the normal attack, that's the important part, to perform up to 3 consecutive attacks, dealing spectro damage. Mid-air attack. Consume stamina to perform a plunge. And dodge counter. Press a normal attack after a successful dodge to attack the target. So what you're seeing over here is that Lynae doesn't appear to have a regular heavy attack. Holding down her attack, which usually triggers a heavy for other characters, is just gonna have her perform her regular basic. So that's something to keep in mind. She's also gonna have Spark Collision, and this is actually going to be that heavy attack that we looked at before. With a full overflow in the optical sampling stage, which is in her Forte Circuit, hold normal attack to enter a charging state. So you probably can guess, what the fuck is the optical sampling stage? It probably has something to do with her roller skates, right? I think that's why they used roller skate mode instead of the actual name that they applied, because I don't think roller skate mode is what it actually shows in game. I think it's some shit like optical sampling stage, but they knew that shit was going to be hard to understand at first glance. So we'll be doing some live translations over here. I think Kuro should definitely revisit the approach that they're doing with the kits, because to have the name go from roller skate mode to optical sampling stage is kind of ridiculous in the same document. That's just my personal take, but maybe people are disagreeing. Anyways, with full overflow in the optical sampling stage, hold normal attack to enter a charging state. So this is the real translation. And let's just take a look at her Forte Circuit so that we don't have any room to actually be confused. So Lynae is in the optical sampling stage by default. Optical sampling is the default state. Kaleidoscopic Parade is when she's in roller skating mode. So those are the two states. Optical sampling is prior to going on the roller skates. Kaleidoscopic Parade is roller skating mode. Glad we were able to get that vocabulary straightened out right off of the bat. So, with Spark Collision, when she's not in roller skate mode, you can hold her normal attack to enter a charging state. And when you're in that state, Overflow is going to be converted into Lumiflow, and Lynae is going to be immune to interruption and take 50% less damage. And then, when she releases that normal attack, or her Lumiflow is full, Lynae's going to use Spark Collision. And that's going to deal varying amounts of damage depending on how much Lumiflow she charged. So the idea is, you want to be able to build up your Overflow, use Spark Collision, and then convert all of that to Lumiflow. And the more you do, the more damage the attack deals, and then you'll be able to enter Kaleidoscopic Parade. Because now you have the Lumiflow, and you're now able to use the roller skate mode. So, while you're in roller skate mode, she's going to get some additional attacks, right? This one's going to be 5 consecutive attacks. And when you have up to 120 points of Lumiflow, which you build up, by the way, by attacking as well, her basic attacks 1 and 4 basically get better tracking. So yeah, she gets like some built-in quality of life tracking buffs on her attacks as the Lumiflow state goes up. She's also gonna have a special ground heavy attack. And so this one, you're gonna hold normal attack on the ground to cast this skill, and you can consume stamina to repeatedly attack them. And then you're gonna release this to throw a graffiti blast. That's gonna deal additional damage too. So you can probably imagine how Lynae is going to work. When you're using her sub DPS mode, where your goal is to simply apply your buffs to the team and then get out as fast as possible, you're likely not going to be using a lot of these attacks. However, when you're using Lynae in DPS mode, because she has her own set for it, remember, this is likely where a lot more of these attacks are actually going to be used. So, when it comes to things like her DPS rotation compared to her sub-DPS rotation, I think all you need to do is use Yuno as an example. That's a character where you extend your rotation by staying on field even though your Concerto energy is full. You extend your rotation so that you can deal more of her damaging abilities. And I'm 99% sure Lynae is going to operate in a similar way. So, do keep in mind that depending on how you actually plan on using her, you might just not use some of these attacks. So that's just something that I wanted to let you all know. All right, she's also going to have a mid-air heavy attack too. While in Kaleidoscopic Parade, hold normal attack in mid-air to cast this skill, and that's going to consume stamina to attack the target, and it's all going to be considered basic attack damage. And she also has to make sure that she can only use this once every single jump. And so if you use it, you gotta land on the ground before using it again. She's also gonna have a regular plunge attack too. And then of course, her dodge counters, which are gonna advance her basic attack chain. So that's going to be the basic attack. The way that it's split up essentially is her basic attack is how she is able to build up Lumiflow, one of the best ways for her to do it. And she's also going to have unique attacks when she's in optical sampling or her default mode, and then Kaleidoscopic Parade, which is her roller skate mode. Awesome. All right, now let's take a look at that resonance skill. And this is the one that basically consisted of deal spectral damage. Press resonance skill to deal spectral damage. While in Kaleidoscopic Parade roller skate mode, you can hold resonance skill to attack the target and then exit roller skate mode. You can also press the normal attack with a certain amount of time to simply use your second basic, and Lynae style palettes and additive color, which is the second ability. They both share a cooldown. So when you're in Kaleidoscopic Parade, you can press the resonance skill on the ground to attack the target. And then from there, within a certain period of time after the skill is cast, you can press normal attack to go into the second stage of her basic. So all this kind of really does is like replace the first hit of her basic attack when she's in regular form and in her roller skate form. And when you hold down her basic while in roller skate form, it lets you exit roller skate form. I think that seems to be what it's for. Seems like an overworld mechanic sort of thing. You might be able to in actual combat just like not like pretend this doesn't exist. Do you want to know one character whose resonance skill you can pretend doesn't exist? This unit. You can actually just never use this ability a single time. You can just never use this. And you're good. Like, you could pretend this is not keybound. What is that? The fact you're asking what that ability is what I'm talking about. That is her regular resonance skill. Nobody ever uses this in combat. This is the one. Oh shit, there's a chest right here. I think you like lock on to an enemy. Oh, that's some shit. Wait, let me see what it actually does. I'm curious now. What does this shit actually do? Wait, where are the enemies? Yo, all I'm finding are chests. What the fuck? Did the enemies despawn? Okay, here we go. Here we go. Holy sh, that was weird. Anyways. That's what it does. I think that Lynae's skill is basically just the same thing that one is supposed to be. You kind of can just not use it ever, and it doesn't really matter. Functionally, it kind of seems like that's the intended purpose for this as well. Maybe you'll use it for Concerto and like immediately cancel it, but like, yeah, that's what it looks like when that's what it looks like from there. Anyways, that's gonna be a resonance skill, like I said before. It doesn't look too crazy. Now let's get on into her resonance liberation. Prismatic Overblast. Deals spectral damage, and using this ability grants all nearby resonators in the team 24% all damage bonus for 30 seconds. That's a pretty damn good buff. And this also means that you're probably going to want to use it at the start of Lynae's rotation so that she benefits from it as well. That is just good. And you want to know the part about this that really makes me question other resonance liberations that function similarly to this? She's got no requirements to give this buff to people. Like, just look at some other sub-DPS units in the game that, like, Chuyan, for example. Okay, he doesn't need that much crit rate. He only needs 65%, so it's not that big deal. He still needs, right, like a stat requirement to give his full effect. It scales, right, based off of what he has over 50%. Rosia also has, like, a fucking stat requirement for her to give her crit buff. And I guess it's sort of just like, I like that Lynae doesn't have one, but why do the other characters do at this point? That's more so my question, because this is like stronger than the ones that we saw before. This is like stronger than Rosia's 200 attack. So yeah, I just, at some point I could just be like, maybe we could just remove hers. Anyways, that's going to be the incredible buff that we see over here. She's also going to have that special basic attack. Press normal within a certain time after using your liberation to cast to a vivid tomorrow. And if you're in your roller skating mode, press normal attack within a certain time to simply use the second hit of her basic in roller skating mode. So yeah, this unit, as you're probably seeing over here, seems to be doing everything. And I think the only thing that you can call into question right now is just how much damage she's actually going to deal in both forms. And the thing is that it probably should actually be decent if she's going to be playable as a main DPS. Unless Kuro's going to pull like a fast one on us and then, you know, give her all this shit to perform as a main DPS in game, and then maybe she doesn't, but I'm genuinely of the expectations that she's probably going to be one of the better ones on release. Now let's go ahead and take a look at that Forte Circuit. We already taken a bit of a preview at it just to be able to understand, right, the wording and all the other abilities. Optical Sampling Stage is her default state, and while in this state, Overflow recovers while using abilities. Kaleidoscopic Parade is her other state, roller skating one, and while in this state, Lynae continuously recovers Lumaflow while moving or using abilities, and she cannot walk during this state, and she will replace the walking with skating. So, basic attack, Polychrome Leap. While in the Kaleidoscopic Parade state, with at least 1/3 of max Lumaflow, Jump is replaced with Polychrome Leap. Consume 1/3 of your Lumaflow, which you build up attacking or walking in Kaleidoscopic Parade, to do the jump. And you inflict Photochromic Flux on each hit. And you can actually dodge while using that jump. So yes, she's better than Rosia. Imagine if Rosia had this line built into her kit. Rosia auto-dodges while jumping. Yeah, that's what Lynae has. Yeah, Lynae just auto-dodges while jumping. Great. While airborne, this is the thing. This is more so not saying that Lynae is power creeping Rosia. It's more so Lynae's like a playable version of Rosia. And so it's not a matter of Lynae being broken. It's a matter of Rosia just needs a fix to her kit. That's why I'm bringing her up so much and where her kit falls flat compared to Lynae's. It's not to say that Lynae is broken. It's to say that Rosia is a steaming pile of dog shit. So I just wanted to clarify that. So yeah, while airborne, basic attack Polychrome Leap chains up to 3 stages. And switching to another Resonator resets the combo. So yeah, guys, unfortunately, you won't be able to do any crazy quick swap rotations while doing Lynae's Polychrome Leaps. They probably saw that the damage of her teams was too high if you were able to quick swap during them, so you can't, I guess. While in combat, each stage of basic attack Polychrome Leap cast recovers 1 point of true color. And within a certain amount of time after a basic attack Polychrome Leap stage 1, you'll be able to transition into your regular Kaleidoscopic Parade roller skate mode basic attacks. The second stage of her Polychrome Leap is also going to pull in targets. So she also has grouping. Yeah, she's also got a little bit of grouping built into her kit as well, both as like a main DPS and a sub DPS. So I guess she does that too. Now, Iridescent Splash, and that's going to be her enhanced plunge attack. During Kaleidoscopic Parade, when Lynae is in mid-air and has 3 points of true color, which you'll get 1 point of true color after each leap, press normal attack or resonant skill to deal spectral damage and inflict photochromic flux on targets. This skill consumes 3 points of true color and has a cooldown, right? And press normal attack within a certain period of time after the skill to cast Kaleidoscopic Parade basic attack stage 2. Oh, I guess she's got 2 different forms of she's got like 2 different forms of the ability. One's called Iridescent Splash, the other's called Visual Impact. Let me see over here what the actual difference is between the 2. Ah, okay. So, Visual Impact is the one that you do if it's not on cooldown. Iridescent Splash is the one that you do if Visual Impact is on cooldown. And the only difference between these two is that Visual Impact gives you 40 points of Tomb Break boost for 30 seconds and does more damage. I had a bit of a double take over here because the wording of these is literally exactly the same except for this line. So yeah, this one has a cooldown, and when you use it, it gives a Tomb Break boost. However, this one does not have a cooldown, and you use this one if this one's on cooldown. That's basically it. Visual Impact likely does way more damage. Kind of similarly to how I imagine. Let me just show you all a character that has pretty much the exact same mechanic. And that one's gonna be none other than... Well, guys, you all know how Carlotta works, right? You all know how this unit works. She has that same exact sort of like mechanic built in, where you've got her Forte Circuit. And when her Forte Circuit is full, right? When her Forte Circuit is full, you get this attack, right? However, when it's on cooldown, as you can see over here, right? You see that cooldown bar at the top. You get this one. That's essentially going to be the mechanic over here. So I don't imagine you're ever actually going to use Iridescent Splash because the damage is probably not going to be worth it. Much like how Carlotta never uses that version of her Forte heavy attack that I just showed you. Literally never, because it deals actually literally no fucking damage. This one is Containment Tactics, right? Containment Tactics deals like 200% damage. Her other one deals like 800, 900%. So the difference between them is like 700% motion value. That's just something to keep in mind between those two attacks. Now, let's take a look at Resonance Mode. This essentially is just breaking down how she's able to apply Tune Rupture or Tune Strain to the targets. When she ever inflicts Photochromic Flux, which is on her intro skill, her bounces, or that special heavy attack, then she's going to inflict her various type of Tune debuff for 25 seconds. Yeah, that's basically it. And when she inflicts Photochromic Flux multiple times in a rotation, it should be up permanently across her team's rotation. So yeah. Now, let's take a look at what her Tune Rupture response is. Do keep in mind, guys, this is what we're talking about over here. Deal an instance of Spectro damage. Consider Tune Rupture damage to targets within range affected by Tune Rupture interfered. So that's what this is. It looks like an attack off field that she will inflict once you Tune Break the enemy when you have Tune Rupture interfered on them. Awesome. Now let's take a look at just some resources here when it comes to Overflow and Lumiflow. Okay, this is basically just telling you how Overflow and Lumiflow build up. Just keep in mind that Overflow translates into Lumiflow using that special spark attack. And then you want full Lumiflow to be able to do her plunge attacks. And then when you do her plunge attacks, you get the big plunge attack that buffs the entire team and deals more damage. And to do that big plunge attack, you need to get 3 stacks of True Color, which you get from doing her little plunge attacks. So yeah, it's basically run around, build up your meters, get a full Lumiflow meter, then do 3 little jumps, then 1 big jump. And that's basically her rotation. The main DPS one, like I said before, is likely going to include way more attacks and then, you know, bring that and extend the rotation a little bit further after the jumps, but we will see on release. Now let's take a look at her Concerto abilities. So the first one is, once again, this just gives her a shit ton of overflow. Remember, she can hold 120 points. This gives her 100 out of 120 right there. And then you're going to inflict Photochromic Flux when you hit them too. Her outro skill: attack the target, deal 100% spectro damage, and it looks like her outro buff is going to be a straight 40% if you deal Resonance Liberation damage. So, oddly enough, guys, this is reverse power creep. This is technically the worst outro buff in the game for a limited 5-star unit. It sums up to a total of only 40%. So it does look like Kuro Games, at the very least, in their balancing efforts, they gave Lynae a lot. She has a very somewhat general outro skill, right? But the unfortunate truth of it is that her outro skill is up to 10% worse than other ones in the game. All I need to do is simply show you what it looks like on, we got Chuyan's, for example. He just gives 50% straight. 50% echo skill, right? She gives 15%, or she gives 50% heavy attack. But this is the thing. There's almost no unit in the game where their entire damage output is one damage type. And chances are is that Lynae's 15% all damage should be enough to just round her out with her 25% liberation, because that 15%, right, is going to buff all damage types that the character can do. You know, for example, right, deals a lot of liberation damage, but she's also got other damage types as well built into her kit. It's not all just liberation. Right? You've also got Zhang Liao, who oddly enough actually deals some basic attack damage in his kit, because you got to do at least 1 chain of basic attacks to deliver all of his hypercubes. So, in that sense, right, more of Lynae's regular amp is going to be for their overall damage, but you do got to keep this in mind as well. That was already being done by supports like Yinlin, right, who had 20% Electro and 25% liberation. So in this sense, for Zhang Liao, Yinlin's always going to give a better outro skill because Zhang Liao's damage is always going to be electro. However, Lynae has the flexibility for only 5% less general damage amp to work with any character, regardless of their attribute. So that is essentially the difference over here. For Lynae, you're losing about 5% in the possible outro buffs to have the flexibility to work with any liberation damage dealer. Is that worth it? Most people would say yes, especially when you know how strong her other buffs are. Specifically on her liberation, where she just gives 24% all damage bonus. So, yeah. Probably is fine. But I'm glad that at the very least, it doesn't say 20% all damage. Because if she just said 20% all damage and then 25% liberation, then I would tell you, yes, this is literally just power creep, right? Then I could comfortably say, yes, this is straight power creep compared to other sub-DPS buffers we've had in the past. In this state, I can say at least there's some drawback to her, right? So, somewhat balanced. All right. It also appears that she has her own, like, what the hell? All right, let's take a look at this. Tomb Break Spectral Analysis. I've never seen this before, so let's read it. Lynae can inflict Tune Rupture or Tune Strain shifting on targets. She can respond to both of those effects as well. Okay. When any Resonator in the team deals Tomb Break damage and inflicts Tomb Break Rupture interfered state, Lynae casts her Tune Rupture response Spectral Analysis. Each target can be damaged by this skill up to once every 8 seconds. Responded to Tune Rupture interfered. For each stack of Tune Strain interfered on the target, each point of Lynae's Tune Break boost increases her total damage against that target by 0.12%. When Lynae is in the team, the target's max stack limit Tune Strain interfered is increased by 1. And when the target's off-tune level is full, Lynae can cast Tune Break on the target. So, essentially, what I'm saying over here is that Tune Break boost scales with Tune Strain interfered, and each point increases your total damage by 0.12%. Tune Break boost is something we have not seen a lot of in the game. The only time I've seen it is on this attack visual impact over here, which gives 40 points to everybody on the team. And so, assuming that she inflicts Tune Strain interfered, right? What's 40 times 0.12? Oh, okay, so she'll gain a 4.8% damage boost. That's not a lot, but it's for every stack. So hypothetically, I guess if every person on the team had Tune Strain interfered, that 4.83 would be I mean, that's 14.4% damage, which is like, assuming that it's only 40 Tune Break boost, and you start at 0 and you get 40, then that's not a lot of damage. Who knows? I don't know. That only looks like 14.4% to me, assuming all 3 members have Tune Strains. That doesn't seem like a lot, but maybe I'm just reading this calculation completely fucked up and I'm not understanding it. Or every character has a base amount of Tune Break boost. Maybe every character starts with 100, and then that's how the scaling goes. We'll just have to see, but I guess this is how the trade-offs between Tune Rupture and Tune Strained are going to show up in-game. One's going to be a nuke from off-field, the other's going to be an overall damage buff based off of your Tune Break stat. Okay, that's what I'm seeing over there. Now, let's read Lynae's inherent abilities. After casting Basic Attack Visual Impact, Lynae leaves spray paint on the ground and continuously inflicts Photochromic Flux. So great, she just leaves paint and then that just inflicts the Tune Break buff as well. With Lynae in the team, the Expedition Motorbike's energy tank expands by 600 points, and Lynae enters Kaleidoscopic Parade automatically while on the Expedition Motorbike and restores 20% of Lumiflow. Okay, so this is just like a giga useless exploration ability. I remember we all thought that Carlotta was going to be mandatory for exploration because she gave the flying stamina. Yeah, no, this is the most useless fucking inherent I've ever seen in the game. Like, this does almost nothing. I've never even noticed not having her in the team. So, 99% is same exact sort of vibe for this one. I think the main point is the fact that she automatically enters this state while she's on the bike. That's probably actually the more important part for the exploration. And that's just inherent to her kit, so it doesn't even matter. Now we got her second inherent ability, Adaptive Optics Everyday Applications. Casting an intro skill increases Lynae's spectral damage by 25% for 9 seconds. During Kaleidoscopic Parade, if Lynae isn't in combat, dodging without directional input grants her optical camo for 15 seconds, which will be removed when Lynae casts any skill other than dodging or is switched off the field. So, yeah, she's got a lot of exploration stuff, but I don't even think it sounds like that crazy useful. I mean, her exploration mechanic basically is, like, ignoring enemies. Which, if you're trying to get 100% exploration, you, like, can't do that. So, yeah, it doesn't seem that good. Just from the perspective of, it's not like you can, like, stealth complete the game or do stealth kills in this game or do any of that, right? So, yeah, doesn't look like anything problematic at all on this side. If anything, I would say, man, it kind of sucks that her buff only lasts for 9 seconds, but maybe that just means that's a balancing lever for her main DPS potential. I would have liked if it said 14, but it's only 9. So yeah, that's going to be Lynae's overall kit. And what I'll say off the bat after reading all of this, yes, her kit does have a lot of wordy elements to it. And yes, I don't know what the fuck is actually going on in the regular skill descriptions compared to the more detailed ones, because there's definitely a lot missing on this first half side, but we were able to get the full picture on the second half. And what I'll say overall is that this character to me is a very, very, very good debut character. And based off of what I've seen just in terms of her overall damage buffs and what she can provide to the team, probably one of the biggest must pulls that exists on the roster, because she's got the main DPS potential, she's got the sub DPS potential, and this is something that we haven't covered in depth, but it will be covered in her weapon video. She's got a lot of free to play potential as well, because as it turns out, these new weapons that these developers have decided to add to the game, these new standard weapons are incredibly broken for her and almost lead you to believe that maybe her signature isn't actually necessary at all. So, yeah. We'll be covering that in just a bit. But yeah, that's going to be our overall coverage for Lynae and her full kit today, ladies and gentlemen. Let me know what you all thought. I think this is an incredible unit, and I think you probably will not. I don't see any universe where you actually regret pulling her. And peace out.